Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shannon Cleverly Thompson, and I'm currently the interim chair for the EDD program. Also 8 years of visiting assistant professor at the Fisher campus for the EDD program and a proud graduate of the EDD program of Cohort 4 at the Fisher campus. So welcome and thank you for coming. It is a pleasure and a gift for us to be here today for the Cohort 6, right? Big Cohort 6, hooding ceremony of the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. School of Education EDD program in Executive Leadership at St. John Fisher College. We are so proud and lucky to have an extension site here at Onondaga Community College so that more people beyond the Rochester area can have a chance to be in this program. You made it. We made it. The pandemic did not stop you. So congratulations. And we are very grateful for your patience and understanding with our COVID-19 protocol. The policies and the rules are changing hourly, daily, so by the time we leave, there may be no mask mandate for clients at OCC. So we really appreciate your understanding. So you are here today to participate in the celebration of your achievements, your engagement with facts, opinions, and interpretations of leadership and research. This ceremony is a day to acknowledge your unwavering commitment to advance the research in your area of expertise and expand the knowledge and skills of executive leadership. The faculty, staff, and I all congratulate you for being at this point and for making it to the end and trusting the process all along, or hopefully trusting the process. But before we get too far into the ceremony, it is also important to thank and acknowledge those that helped us get here today. Those that are in person and those that are joining us virtually, we need to thank them as well. And as a graduate of this program, I know how much I relied on my family and friends to help me earn my degree. So thank you for the encouragement you all offered to these graduates and the sacrifices that many of you made so that they could be here every other weekend and that they could go to the library or to Starbucks or to whatever corner in your house they took over when they were working on their degree or to take time on writing multiple drafts of different chapters for their dissertation. So if we could just stop and have a round of applause for those that supported our graduates today. So. I also want to take a minute to thank the staff and faculty, Michael Flood, Betsy Christensen, and all of the faculty sitting up here today, and many more that couldn't be with us here today. It takes a village to get all of you here today, and I cannot tell you how much I thank you for your commitment and your hard work. And I had the pleasure of having lunch with these folks, and they are committed to you. So many stories about you and this cohort. So I'm very excited to be able to be here with you on this celebration. I also want to say thanks to some other people that are helping us today. So special thanks to Tim Wilson for helping us with the video and getting all that set up. Thank you to Bob Bergertz for assisting us with the AV, and for Chuck Wainwright for supporting and helping us capture all these moments on film. So I believe the best welcome remarks for ceremonies like this remind us why we're all here, but also leave us feeling inspired, accomplished, and most importantly, challenged to keep going. To help me do that, I have a story to share that you might have heard, but we might apply it in a different way. It's an old parable that that's often used in management literature about a hermit living in the woods who needs to cut enough firewood each summer to heat his home in the winter. So one year, winter came early for the community, as it sometimes does in upstate New York, and the neighbors warned the hermit to get ready for this fast approaching storm. So the hermit rushed out to his firewood pile. But when he picked up his saw, he found that it was rusty and it was dull, and it had grown kind of not as good as it used to be. So he knew he needed to sharpen his saw, but since he was so worried about the storm getting here in time and being prepared, he just started cutting the firewood instead. But as he worked, he noticed that the saw was getting increasingly dull, forcing him to have to work harder and make little progress. But he didn't stop and sharpen the saw, and soon the snow began to fall, and soon the sawing had to stop. So he stopped, and he was completely exhausted next to a big pile of uncut firewood, which left him unprepared for the storm. So our hermit from the woods, he was one of the brightest of the hermits, but he still could not bring himself to stop and sharpen the saw. He became trapped in his own routine, too distracted by the approaching storm. And according to Robert E. Quinn, the hermit got caught up in what's called the logic of task pursuit. And as it did with this story, the logic of task pursuit is what often prevents all of us and our organizations from changing, growing, and living outside of our comfort zone, and instead encourages us to keep a narrow focus on life. When I think about this parable, I think about how much time you all spent in this program avoiding the logic of task pursuit. The one constant I hear from people from this program is that it transformed my life. I'm a different person. It's transforming, it's life-changing. So to have a program described like that, it means that people are changing, transforming. They're living outside their comfort zone, having to learn APA and all the different things and frameworks that you had to get to know. So Robert Quinn states that when we are pursuing a task, we naturally follow our existing routines and what we know and our scripts, and that these maps are the key to our past success. The problem is that as we experience growth and success, like the EDD program, we change, and so does the world. So a map or an approach to a leadership challenge we might have used might be of limited value in the new space. So I can imagine that each of you each grew and changed in different ways based on your own unique experience. You now have new maps and frameworks that hopefully you've been using this past year. You became an expert in your dissertation topic and learned how to be an even more exceptional leader. Therefore, I urge you to use those new approaches in the next leadership challenge so that you don't get caught up in the logic of task pursuit. So what does that look like? Well, you can take notice when you might be settling into the land of comfort in task pursuit. We can be brave and speak up when we see injustices occurring. We can use our positions of power and influence to lift others up to success instead of bringing them down. We can be allies and accomplices and co-conspirators to groups that are being excluded by removing barriers and helping lift their voices that are being ignored. We can step out of our positions of power and privilege and step into roles of advocacy, vulnerability, and empathy. We can seek to understand different perspectives and opinions rather than pass judgment, make assumptions, or criticize. I know what I'm suggesting is hard and takes courage. I'm constantly learning how to avoid the logic of task pursuit myself. Sometimes it can lead us into situations that are difficult or uncomfortable, oftentimes not knowing the right answer and having to be open to learning and reframing. You know, some people might call that part of writing a dissertation. But engaging in the logic of task pursuit can encourage us to stay in our comfort zone. It slows progress down. It prevents us and our communities and our organizations from changing and learning and growing. It allows inequities and toxicity to continue to exist. And that should scare all of us. So with that in mind, I issue a challenge to all of us. We all have long to-do lists and face fast approaching storms. But don't become the hermit in the woods, who was also smart and wise, but found himself trapped in his story and his routine without the proper tool and working order. So in the next few minutes, we will be calling on each one of you to come down and be acknowledged for your success. And what I hope you remember and hold on to beyond today is that we need your leadership more than ever. We need your knowledge, we need your critical thinking skills, your research, and your dedication and compassion to social justice. not only in your organizations, but also in our communities. We need you to avoid the logic of task pursuit by staying curious, facing uncomfortable moments where you may have to rethink or reframe the situation. We need you to use those new maps and those new frameworks, and most of all, to continue to be lifelong learners and leaders. So I now get the great privilege of presenting or saying your names and calling you down to receive your hood and be acknowledged. So each candidate will be hooded by their dissertation chair or their advisor. I will be reading the title of the dissertation and what the candidate is currently doing in his or her professional life. So as I say your name, graduates, please come forward and to the stage. And please remember to wear your mask, because that is the policy that we have been told to do. And I will not force anyone, but I'm just repeating the policy that was shared with me. Okay, so the following candidates will be hooded by Dr. Michael Robinson. The first candidate is Dr. Danielle Deem. Dr. Deem's dissertation title is The Friendship Workshop as an Intervention Model to Promote Empathy, a Program Review. Dr. Deem is an adjunct professor in the SUNY Oswego Educational Administration Program, co-director of Encompass Summer Enrichment Program for RCSD students, educational interim work, and is a personal development facilitator and professional coach. Congratulations. Dr. Jahan Jackson. Dr. Jackson's dissertation title is Recalibrating Normalcy, Healing Perspectives of Provisional Critical Care Nurse Leaders. Dr. Jackson is creating academic opportunities for the nurses of Loretto Health and Rehabilitation while pursuing a Juris Doctorate. Dr. Stephen Knapp. Dr. Knapp's dissertation title is The Role Emergency Medical Services Play in Preparing and Supporting Emergency Medical Technicians to Minimize the Effect of Peritraumatic Dissociation. Dr. Knapp is the Executive Director of MAVES Incorporated and SAVES Incorporated. Dr. Lucia Kemphy. Dr. Kemphy's dissertation title is Assessing K-12 Leaders' Level of Critical Consciousness and Social Justice Predispositions in an Effort to Address Inequity in Suburban School Districts. Dr. Kemphy is the assistant principal at State Road Elementary School in Webster, New York. Dr. Christine Nathabelli. Dr. Nathabelli's dissertation is titled Disruptive Student Behavior, the Effect on Various Constituent Groups in Suburban School Communities. Dr. Nathabelli is the principal of State Road Elementary School in Webster, New York. Dr. Francine Leggett. Dr. Leggett's dissertation title is Childhood Trauma in the Elementary School, the Leadership Response in Addressing Childhood Trauma. Dr. Leggett is the principal at Schlegel Road Elementary School in Webster, New York. She supports students, staff, and families during the ever-changing landscape in today's education system. Her doctoral degree has provided her with the ability to lead with a whole child leadership approach. Congratulations. The following candidates will be hooded by Dr. Teresa Poulos. Dr. Sharon Archer. Dr. Archer's dissertation title is Leading on Empty, an interpretive phenomenological analysis of secondary trauma in school leaders. Dr. Archer is a vice principal in the Syracuse City School District. Dr. Bonnie Kaiser. Dr. Kaiser's dissertation title is a phenomenological study of rural elementary principals in Western and Central New York, perceptions of isolation. Dr. Kaiser is the principal of a rural elementary school. The following candidates will be hooded by Dr. Loretta Quigley. Dr. Jason Mellon. Dr. Mellon's dissertation title is Charter School Leadership Teams, Exploring the Effects of Leadership Structures on School-Level Achievement. Dr. Mellon is the founding director of operations at Girls Global Academy in Washington, D.C. Dr. Natasha Oates. Dr. Oates' dissertation title is The Black Man's Experience as a Teacher in K-12, Examining the Insight, Education, and Challenges to Diversifying the Teaching Population. Dr. Oates is the Associate Director for Quality and Education at the Bishop Rehabilitation and Nursing Center. Dr. Tanya Henderson. Dr. Henderson's dissertation title is A Study of Black Family Members' Perceptions of Substance Use Support. Dr. Henderson has founded a counseling group practice in the Capital Region to focus on healing of Black and Brown communities affected by mental health and addiction. Dr. Amanda Hopkins. Dr. Hopkins' dissertation title is It Takes a Village, Perspectives from a Multidisciplinary Team to Address the Needs of Students in School-Based Mental Health Programs. Dr. Hopkins works as an administrator at Madison Oneida Boces, where she oversees a school-based mental health program for elementary students. She is presently developing, hold on, there's more. She is presently developing a plan for the expansion of that program to serve students in middle school. Yeah. I did mess this up, didn't I? Okay. The following candidates will be hooded by Dr. Linda Evans. You can still make mistakes after you get your doctorates, okay? Just everyone realize that. So, Dr. Brandis Pearson. Dr. Pearson's dissertation title is African American Female Executive Leaders, Identifying and Implementing Strategies to Ensure Health, Wellness, and Well-Being. Dr. Pearson is the Director of Community Engagement for the local healthcare organization in Syracuse, New York. She also founded a company called Midas Consulting, which Midas stands for Make It Direct and Simple. And my apologies to Dr. Henderson and Dr. Hopkins, as your chair was supposed to be doing the hooding. So that is, leaders acknowledge when they make a mistake, and so I acknowledge I made a mistake. So it has been my privilege and honor to be able to present and say your names, and the accomplishments are long for this Cohort 6. So thank you.
We have a tradition in the program to present awards. One of our awards is given and chosen by the students themselves. That's our Leadership Award. We also have a Scholarship Award in both quantitative and qualitative. And we have a Service Award, which is given to the candidate or the graduate who served their colleagues in the program. So I'd like to introduce, first of all, to no surprise to most of the graduates, Dr. Teresa Poulos, who will name the recipients of the Scholarship Award.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson, and welcome to everyone, our honored graduates and family guests. Wonderful to see you here today. So let me tell you a little bit about the criteria for the Scholarship Award. There are 2 awards, but the criteria are the same. The quality of the candidate's research and other scholarly contributions to leadership practice and theory are evaluated. The originality and appropriateness of the candidate's leadership research and other scholarship. Technical competence in the execution of the candidate's leadership research and other scholarship, and the value of the candidate's leadership research and the other scholarship to the body of knowledge and professional practice. The first recipient of the award is Dr. Johan Jackson. We all need a cheering section. And the second recipient is Dr. Jason Mellon. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Loretta Quigley, who will present the Leadership Award.
Good afternoon. It's so nice to see all of our, I can't say candidates anymore, graduates now, and all their family members who we've heard so much about over the past 28 months. The Exemplary Performance and Service Award is selected by the department faculty. The criteria includes compatibility of the candidate's service with the standards, goals, and philosophy of the EDD program in executive leadership, demonstrated commitment to providing and promoting service opportunities, quality and uniqueness of the candidate's service to the program and the community, potential impact of the candidate's service on improving the lives and future prospects of individuals and communities. The recipient of the Exemplary Performance and Service Award is Dr. Bonnie Kaiser. The next award is Exemplary Performance in Leadership. Each program candidate can nominate one person from their cohort for this award. The nomination is accompanied by a brief justifying narrative based on the award criteria. The criteria include value of the candidate's contributions to class discussions, group projects, and program improvement, compatibility of the candidate's leadership style with the mission, goals, philosophy, and standards of the EDD program in executive leadership, extent that the candidate exemplifies the leadership qualities embraced by the program and admired by the candidates, potential of the candidate to contribute to the development of future leaders. The recipient of the Exemplary Performance in Leadership Award is Dr. Brandis Pearson.
One of the most difficult jobs of the site director is to choose which student will, or graduate, will speak for all the other cohort members. And what I try to do is I try to choose someone that represents all of the great characters of the cohort. The grit, the ability to say no to distractions, an intense development of their research. And this was a little difficult for me in this group. And I decided to call upon Shakespeare. Now, the students in the class, or the graduates, will understand what I'm talking about. And they'll explain it to you later this evening. But Shakespeare said, "The apparel oft makes the man." So I thought, well, whose apparel in our cohort spoke loudest to all of us each week? So I chose as the speaker Dr. Sharon Archer.
I'm glad my outfits got noticed. That's nice to hear. Oh, you're okay. It's all right. I know. So there we are. So it's so nice to see everybody in person, and it's an honor and a privilege to speak on behalf of such a talented, special cohort. Thank you to Dr. Robinson for selecting me. As I reflect on our collective experience in the St. John Fisher DEXL program and our time with such powerful, supportive faculty, I hear your voices. I hear your stories, your quotes, and your comments that built us as leaders, but also made us friends. We learned about the process early. Even our cohort name, Confiniment Processus Sex, reminded us daily to trust the process. It was Dr. Robinson who first introduced us to trust the process. Initially, we did not trust or understand the process. However, we learned that the process is what you become in the process. We learned that the doctoral process was a journey through which we would all change and evolve. We discovered that what brings us happiness most is the journey. There was sacrifice in the process. We had to take things off our calendar. We needed to find 3 hours a night to get this work done. We missed birthdays, get-togethers, vacations, social events. The first week of class, we were unprepared. We were not quite sure what we had gotten into. We sacrificed sleep, weekends, television, laundry, the precious time with our families to commit to the process. We rejoiced when we found time for the simple things. Part of the process was the food, the butter cake, the red Twizzlers, the Costco apple pie, the wine at Kelly's. We ate together as a family. We learned to be vulnerable with each other. We were advised to let go of ego early. We chose to put ourselves on a path of complexity. We did not appreciate how good it felt to be unconsciously incompetent. Now, we were consciously incompetent. Thankfully, Dr. Quigley reminded us that we are all human and everyone makes mistakes. We became friends. We got to know each other. What made each of us tick? Our little idiosyncrasies. Our likes and dislikes, our passions, our proudest moments, and our lowest times. We all have a chapter that we don't want to read out loud. Yet this cohort leaned into the vulnerability and did just that. And I think we would all agree that we would not have gotten through this process without each other. We became confused. We were like Hansel without Gretel, lost in the woods. We reminded each other to stay on the path. Do not go into the long grass. But qualitative statistics came anyway. We made claims of potential problems, maybe. We learned that even if our ideas were a duh, we still needed evidence. Suddenly, significance was not what we always thought it was. And what the F became more than just a colloquial saying. We became researchers. We learned about the truth with a lowercase t. We learned to scrutinize research and find objectivity. We learned that no one cares about our beliefs. We learned that it's all about says who. And through the moral support of our advisors, our chairs, and our professors, we moved off the dance floor and into the balcony. We developed the ability to see more and think differently. We grew. We became analytical, objective thinkers. We learned to challenge ideas and norms. We would pull out our pulos and ask, says who. We learned about economy of language, to say more with less. We learned to trust our instincts, to not overthink it. We learned not to be extra. We developed as leaders. We learned that the strongest leaders can show their vulnerability. We learned that it's okay to lead with love. We were inspired to speak passionately with love in our eyes. We learned that our strength as a leader is in our ability to be flexible. We developed the courage to take action, knowing that merely preparing to do what is right is still doing wrong. We committed to be leaders for social justice. As leaders, we learned it is our duty and to use our position to advocate for all, to speak truth to power. And we learned that speaking truth to power is a privilege. We discovered equity is not about getting a piece of the pie. We'll make a new pie. That's leadership. And while all of this was happening, we wrote a dissertation. We found our academic voice. We wrote 100+ pages on something we initially didn't know very much about, even though we thought we did. Some of us even ventured into quantitative statistics To which our very own Dr. Poulos said, "No frickin' way." And we discovered the guiding principle: always do as your chair says. It's anonymous. We learned to take feedback. Harsh, honest, humbling feedback. We learned we could not feel married to our ideas, our topics, our methodologies. We had to strike dozens of pages from our drafts, pages that represented hours of research and writing. We learned to trust our chair and trust the process. And our feedback got better. In the end, we were affirmed. We became writers. And we learned that trusting the process means that the process is never really over. Our chairs taught us that at the doctoral level, learning and growing is never really over. It's just a continuation. Clearly, we gained so much from this program. However, on March 16th, 2020, we lost a lot too. With just 14 classes left, we had to yield to coronavirus with the rest of the world. We lost our in-person learning, our lunchtime walks, our residency, our rituals, our celebrations. Our cohort is comprised of educators, healthcare professionals, and first responders, 3 professions that were brought to their knees during this pandemic. Through personal, professional, and academic challenges, we persevered. We defended our dissertations on Zoom. We earned a doctorate during the height of a global pandemic. We had no idea how strong we were until our strength was tested. We learned that it ain't what they call you, it's what you answer to. And now we all answer to doctor. COVID could not take that from us. However, we did miss out on one very special ritual: the bell. So my friends, at this time I ask you to open your gift bags. We are going to take that ritual back. Has everybody got it? Yeah, okay. It is my privilege to present the doctors of Cohort 6. Ring your bell. Thank you so much.
I'm a little speechless, but Dr. Cleverly reached over to me at the end and said, "Boy, you know how to pick them." So in closing, let me congratulate not only those who have earned their doctorate, but congratulate those who supported them during this process. I'm keenly aware of how much of the program our cohorts take home sometimes. A couple years ago, there was a gentleman that came up and introduced himself as the spouse of one of our graduates. And I introduced myself, and he said, "Oh, you're the guy that's made my life miserable for the last 28 months." So we respect you as a family. Be kind. Find barriers and challenges every day that you can remove from the lives of others so that they can reach the goals and objectives that they've set for themselves. Don't wait for the opportunity to support those who are unrepresented or underrepresented. Go find those opportunities every day. Thank you for being what we in St. John Fisher, what we want to send to the world. So thank you for that. At this point, we're going to ask the graduates to follow Michael, and have your group picture taken. So be safe, and they'll be back. They're just going to have their picture taken. Thank you very much.